You are live. Okay, there we go. Okay, here we go.
Uh-oh. You hear that?
Oh no, what is it, JD?
2023 is almost over. It means we got to do the Blursties.
Oh yeah, we almost forgot. Dodged a bullet there.
Guess it would be pretty easy to forget about this year's Blursties. I mean, this was 2023 after all. Best year for video game releases, maybe ever.
Oh man, tell me about it. It was definitely better than last year.
Well, yeah, for game releases at least.
Everything else, though,
Oh, way worse.
and not even just in the gaming industry.
No, everything is way worse.
Every single year, it seems like everything is just worse.
Oh, yeah, big time.
It doesn't even snow in winter anymore.
Christmas was a mess.
At least there's a big election this year. That'll be fun.
So fun.
Well, I guess we better record some Blursties then.
Yeah, well, I'm in the perfect mood for it now. You've just logged into the 3-Bit Gamer Show. Welcome to the 3-Bit Gamer Show. I'm JD.
This is Peterson.
And it's the Blursties, y'all.
It's the most Blurstiful time of the year.
We summed it all up. If you guys are behind and you wanted a cliff notes of the entire podcast for 2023, this is it.
Yeah, this is the TLDR for all of our 51 other episodes this year.
That's what you get. This is what you get.
This is the summary.
All right, so what are we gonna do? We just dive right in?
We'll just do like just with that, let's get started. Something like that. I don't know. Say it. You say it. You say it.
And with that, let's get started.
Our first category. Oh, I turned it way down. Sorry. This will all be fixed in post. Okay, here we go. Hold on.
Biggest disappointment.
All right, biggest disappointment. Our first nomination comes to us. Do we want to do that? How do we want to do this? How do we want this? You've got this.
Yeah, I can play these live if you want me to.
You got it live?
Yeah. Let me get it.
Let's roll that again.
Okay, here we go. Hold on. There we go.
Biggest disappointment.
All right, biggest disappointment. This is what let us down the most in 2023. And first up comes to us from our listener, Joe Marrow. We'll spin his nomination right now.
Hey biddies, this is Jomero, and I'm here to talk about 2023's biggest disappointment in gaming. What do you get when you take a beloved fantasy IP that is decades old and then run it into the ground? You get the absolute worst garbage game of the year. That's right, I'm talking about Baldur's Gate 3. Baldur's Gate 3 is not only the absolute worst in the franchise, but it blows monkey chunks just as a game by itself. It is so bad. Okay, I'm kidding. Calm yourselves and take your blood pressure meds.
We were
I
gonna
just
fight.
wanted to get a taste of that gamer rage
I was gonna
that
fist
someone
fight a
else is
listener.
nominating. Honestly, I think Baldur's Gate 3 is easily the best game of the year, if not beyond. No, I'm talking about a different fantasy IP that is decades old, Lord of the Rings, specifically Gollum. Daedalic Entertainment had the golden keys to essentially print money, yet somehow they screwed it up. This game wasn't just disappointing for 2023, it was disappointing for 2006. I can see why so many game devs are trying so hard to tell gamers about Baldur's Gate 3 to not expect similar quality in other games going forward. Because that means that they'd actually have to put in some actual real time and care into their games, rather than just duking out something and expecting to make easy cash.
I like that. They had the keys to print money, and instead they printed a turd. They printed turds.
I like the phrase duking out something. You think they're talking about punching, but then you get
No.
it. You're like, oh, you're talking about dookies.
Dropping a deuce.
That's amazing. So
Mhm.
Lord of the Rings Gollum is Jamero's nomination.
So just real quick to recap Gollum. Okay, so this game right out the gate, like, it's just terrible, just super buggy mess. The visuals were only good for one thing, and that was for laughing at it and making fun of it. I mean, terrible visuals, just nothing looked good. But it came out with like I remember like the movement was bad, the controls were bad, just tons of bugs, clipping through platforms, unskippable cutscenes right before a part where you would die, so you'd have to watch it again.
Mm-hmm.
Just a horrible waste of potential, and I think
Right.
that's why it's biggest disappointment. Gollum's story could be great. We could have a great anti-hero hero story here, and it was just garbage. So super disappointing.
I think we talked about Gollum and we were like, we wanted it to be good, but we had no illusions that it would be. But I was still disappointed. I still managed to be disappointed. Next up, Peterson, why don't you give us our next one?
Okay, so this is a rare instance of one of my favorite IPs coming in hot twice in a row. Lord of the Rings, Return to Moria.
Bummer.
The second I heard about this game, I was like, in. I wishlisted it immediately on the Epic Game Store. Super stoked for it. I watched the date get closer and closer. And then the game released, and I didn't buy it right away because I'm a smart gaming consumer these days. You don't buy them right away because this game came out and honestly just fell short.
It's still in early access, though. You got to be right.
It's still early access, like it might do something, but it fell short in so many regards. It's a survival game, and when you play a survival game, like
I want a base.
I want to be able to build a base. I want to, and that's what it is. Like you think like Valheim, Raft. You think all these games where you can build. That's what people are doing. They're building just these wacky things, crazy things, just elaborate. And you're thinking Lord of the Rings. I'm in a dwarf cave. Like you've seen the movies. Like you can build some crazy stuff. No, the building was limited. Okay, fine. Then they focus more on combat, right? Because you're down in this cave. There is combat, not good, very repetitive. The AI was terrible. And then the other thing in a survival game like this is exploration. You want to be rewarded for just like going and finding cool areas, right? And finding cool stuff. That's not this. You try to mine through a wall. It is a solid wall you can't get through. There's just specific areas you can mine through. So honestly, just fell short in so many expectations that I feel like it didn't even need to fall short in, you know? I don't know what they focused their efforts on, but it wasn't a survival game.
You and I were really wanting this to be something special, and it wasn't. And I think much more than Gollum, we thought this one had a chance. I'll do this next one, which is Starfield. Got to put Starfield up on the board early. I saw recently that the latest reviews on Steam have crossed over that threshold, the red threshold, into mostly negative.
What a bummer.
But put shortly, there's this game that's supposed to be the space Skyrim, and they brag about having 1,000 worlds that you can visit, procedurally generated, so they're rich and alive, but in reality, they're just empty and sad. And instead of traveling from one to the other, you just select them on a map and then sit and watch a loading screen. And then you do repetitive quests. And they haven't really innovated since Fallout 3, really, or even earlier, some would argue, going back to Oblivion, Morrowind stuff. And I really think that this game ended up kind of killing the love and interest by default that I had in a Bethesda title, where I was willing to overlook mistakes and shortcomings because I was like, oh, it's a great story, or it's a really cool world to run around in. This didn't do anything, and it really makes me worried about the future of Bethesda games and properties like Elder Scrolls and Fallout, stuff like that. And we waited for 15 years for this. They talked about this for fucking ever.
Yeah.
For me, in terms of just like a large grand scale disappointment, This is a no-brainer. This. I think this is probably my favorite for the year, just because of how hyped it was and how we were led to believe this would be the next big thing. This was going to be their next tentpole IP.
This was going to be the game you were going to play for 10 years.
Yep.
Right. And what it ended up being is like just full of lame quests, no world building, which is what Bethesda has done great, right? Fallout games, half the fun is just going around and like talking to wacky people and finding wacky things and like
finding
weird
wacky
situations
that people put there. A developer put there. You open a door and it's a blank wall that says "fuck you." Like a developer put that there. You're not going to get that from a procedural generation. Or if you do, you'll see that door so many times it'll stop being funny or quirky, and you'll be like, "This game fucking sucks." So it was a weird choice to go the procedural generation, empty world route.
No, the other thing I was reading, and I didn't realize this, is a huge lack of like demi bosses, like these medium bosses. You know, like you get a quest line, and you're like, all right, this is going to be a crazy fight. This is standard in open world RPG games. Every single one I've played, and what I was reading is like everyone was like, dude, there's nothing. That's what's missing.
Well, the fighting sucks anyway because it's Bethesda combat.
The fighting's like medium at best. That's not like the forte of the game. What a huge! I mean, this is disappointing, honestly, because this might have been the game I was most excited for this year. Like so excited for.
For years I've been stoked.
Falling flat. And what I kind of found is, by just talking to people who have played it, kind of reading about people who've played it, a lot of people played for a while. Like they played for 30, 40, 50 hours and then all just stopped. Nope. Like they didn't finish it. And because they were just like, yeah, this game's boring. Like it's fun. I'm not having any fun anymore.
Yep.
This isn't
like
Skyrim.
A book you put down and never pick back up.
This isn't Skyrim. So yeah, huge disappointment.
Next up, another one out of Microsoft-owned studios. Redfall. Redfall was the vampire game.
Left 4 Dead Vampires.
Left 4 Dead Vampires. It was, if you guys remember this, one of the very first Microsoft titles that debuted at $70, right next to Forza. So I'm sure that looks like you've both gotten your money's worth. You look at a game like Forza with its gleaming cars.
Just looks beautiful, plays well.
And then you go over to Redfall, which is just a nightmare. And more so, I think it was a disappointment because people actually thought this could be a cool game. I think the idea of it they thought was cool, but
like we thought this would be fun. On the surface, this looks fun, right? You are this band of wacky characters that's going through. It's a Left 4 Dead situation. It's going through and like liberating towns from vampires who have taken over. And so you're like, yeah, I want to do that. And you got your abilities and I want to do it with friends. That was the thing. I want to do this with friends. What it ended up being was repetitive missions. If you could get in with your friends,
right?
Repetitive missions. But not only that, it looked bad. This was supposed to be one of the games that was supposed to really, it was like one of the first Xbox Series X console exclusive Game Pass day one release, and it did the Xbox Series X as a console no service. The game looked bad, the frames per second were bad, like it made it look like garbage. And it was supposed to be like a hot fun game. Get in and play. I didn't expect to play this for a year. I expected to get in and have fun with it for 3 weeks. And after the first reviews flew in, I was like, oh, I'm not even downloading this. This is not even worth it.
Yeah, and if you guys remember, they must have spent all their money on marketing the game because the studio itself was gutted. And I think there was a Schreier article that came out that explained that the staff, they were just super understaffed. And by the end of the development, 70% of the original team had left, and they couldn't hire new people because they pay so low. So it was just kind of destined to fail from the beginning, but they kept marketing it as if it was the game that they thought they set out to make, and they didn't make any effort.
You know what all these games that we're talking about remind me of? Have you ever had a burrito that you're just like, dude, this looks dope? And
take a big bite out of the middle of it?
No, stop. That's not where I was going. I
eat it like a corn.
said burrito. I knew once I said that, I was like, oh no, JD is gonna no. But you get a burrito and you cut into it. That's what these games are. You're like, I'm excited. These games look great. And then you take your first bite and you're like, oh man, that was a lot of tortilla. Maybe that's just because it's folded there. And you just keep eating and it's all tortilla. It's just so much tortilla. And there's a little bit of beans in there, a little bit mixed in, but it's just tortilla.
Nothing.
It's not, it had so much potential and it was just wasted.
Yep.
That's what this reminds me of.
Speaking of the last one that had so much potential wasted, and we'll get a little bit deeper into this, but Embracer Group, what a nightmare. What didn't you try to buy Embracer Group stock?
Dude, okay, so this is the timeline of events, right? Late last year, we are hyping up Embracer Group. They're doing a great job. They are doing all these cool things
studios,
for gaming. They're buying, saving studios. They're letting them build their stuff. They're building. Remember, their CEO was like trying to collect every video game that's ever existed and vault it. Like, dude, this is cool. Like, these
building
are
a museum
for gamers, by gamers. Like, this is great. Okay, that even goes into Q1 2023, right? And that's when I was like, dude, I'm going to buy some Embracer stock. Like, I've got this money sitting in a stock account. I transferred a bunch of money over to my Fidelity account, and I was like, I'm going to buy some.
Why not?
Not a ton, just like I'm going to get some because I think they're doing good things. And then I even gave kudos to Fidelity for not letting me buy stock because it was like, we don't know much about this company. You probably shouldn't do that. And I was like, dude, let me do whatever I want. It's mine. Well, maybe I'll give kudos to Fidelity because they didn't let me buy the stock. And immediately, JD, this is like 2 weeks later, they started closing studios. Their big deal falls through. Turns out this is a shell company. There's just nothing there. They're just borrowing money, investing that money, hoping for quick returns, which is not the gaming industry. There's no quick returns.
Yeah.
Hoping for a big hit. They're not getting it. So now we have reported for like 9 months now of Embracer's Group just shutting studios down. Like studios that have existed for a long time.
Yeah.
I'm really disappointed.
I felt like
we were
like Obi-Wan. You were the chosen one. We thought this was
you were like a brother to me.
Yeah.
I hate you. That's what Embracer Group said. I hate you.
As they burn off another limb. They're like,
dude,
this is the only way I can survive.
Perfect analogy.
Yeah.
They are like 2 steps away from Darth Vader. All right, so that's all our categories for biggest disappointment. Give us the rundown of them again real quick, JD.
No, let's just do this at the end.
Okay,
we'll just do all of everything at the end. So we'll just clip at that, and then we'll just keep going.
Next category.
Worst studio.
All right, we're gonna pick it right back up where we left off. Worst studio goes to Embracer Group. First nomination.
Like, they're not even technically a studio, but it's a conglomeration of studios that have just completely shut down. It's nothing. They do nothing.
Here we go. This is and we've been referencing that they have shut down a lot of studios, which just in the last couple, let's see, Fox Glove Studios, they divested in 2019. Square Enix Montreal, they closed in November 2022. Campfire Cabal, they closed in August of this year, along with Goose Bites, who they divested from in August of this year. Volition, they closed in August of this year. And then most recently, Free Radical Design, they closed in December of this year. Now, don't forget, on top of all of that, massive layoffs. They've been doing it. So if you are a company that does a studio that doesn't get closed or divested in, layoffs.
And all of this hinges on the fact that they did not get a big investment from Saudi Arabia. That's it.
Oh, yeah. Holy shit. How did we forget? How did I forget that?
That's the catalyst for all of this.
It was all predicated on Saudi blood money. Are you fucking kidding me? So
Yes.
if we don't get our Saudi blood money, you're all losing your jobs. Your shit canned. Your 30-year-old historic gaming studios closed. Just like, don't give a shit. Don't even give you a chance. You're done.
And I don't know if you caught this, though, but just recently, their CEO had said, it was a tough year. We had to shut down a bunch of stuff. We had layoffs, all this stuff, right? He's acknowledging it. and then acknowledges that, hey, more to come. This is not the end of it. This is going to continue in 2024. So yeah, this studio deserves to be in the worst studio category. Let's give them some award.
It's a crowded category this year. Why don't you do our next one?
They don't get Saudi money, but they can get a Blursty.
You don't have to kill any journalists to get one of these, you guys. You want our next one?
Yes. Okay, next one. Game Mill. Okay, these guys came out of nowhere. To be honest, we had never heard of them until about 6 months ago.
Just like any good puppy mill or mill-based business, you really don't want people to notice you.
They just pop up and you're like, ooh, we don't like that.
They're going to start looking a little closer at your operations.
Unless you are an actual like mill.
Yeah.
Like,
making paper or grain. Otherwise, no.
Yeah, we want, that's the stuff we want coming out quickly. We don't want you to make your video games in 4 months. And unless it's like a garbage mobile game, fine. But if you are releasing Kong's, what's it called? Rise of Kong.
Rise of Kong.
And this
Skull Island Rise of Kong.
JD, have you read the reviews for this game? They are either 5-star reviews that are completely sarcastic.
Yeah.
Or 1-star reviews that are like, don't buy this game. I bought this for £50 and it was terrible.
Yeah. Well, so they're a Minnesota-based company. So Minnesota not really known as a hub for video game development.
For anything, really.
And they just take on contracts from studios or any IP that they can get their hands on, and then they subcontract to even smaller video game studios overseas. For the Kong game that you talked about, that was developed in, where the fuck was that? It was Iguanabee was the name. I think it was Argentina or something.
Yeah, Iguanabee.
And the other one, if you remember this one that came out after that, was the Walking Dead game. Do you remember that one that we talked about that had like PS1 graphics?
Again, we had no fanfare. We had no idea this was coming out. It just shows up and you're like, what?
It's the same model as the Asylum uses to trick grandmas at Redbox into renting the wrong film because it sounds like the right film. So Skull Island Rise of Kong, you might be fooled into thinking is an actual game associated with the Skull Island Kong film that came out, but it is not. But the Walking Dead game, if you remember, that had those cinematics that were just static 3D models and people like voice actors were just yelling over the model. This is
and
it was like
that
zoom
reminds
out
me
slowly, and that was cutscene.
The Kong game.
Oh, and the Kong
had a
cutscene.
JPEG cutscene.
Yeah. Where it was like a placeholder image. They're like, we'll put this in the animation later.
No time.
Ship it. We have a contract with Game Mill Entertainment. Game Mill Entertainment. That's an easy nomination. Next up, this one is Unity. Oh man, is this one, guys? I was kind of shocked because when I say Unity and I talk about a nomination for worst studio, your mind probably goes to the gunshot wound, the self-inflicted one that they have in their foot right now, which is still bleeding profusely. But there was a lot of shit that Unity did this year that I had forgotten about when I went back and reviewed this. If you remember, if you don't remember, I'll just go through this. The studio laid off 250 people in January.
Oh, right.
And then followed that up 5 months later in May with 600 people. And this was they had around like 8,000 or 9,000 at this time. And so at that point in May, the CEO, John Riccatello, said, quote, "It's all about setting ourselves up for higher growth."
It always is.
So that's the stage this dude sets. And then later in the summer, he unveils
his name comes right back up.
He's like, here we go. This is setting ourselves up for higher growth. We shit canned all the losers. And now we're ready to roll out our new model for charging game developers that use Unity as their platform for in-app purchases. And by the way, we will sue your ass if you are in violation of this. And by the way, our old terms of services, we just pulled those down and we didn't tell anyone.
Quick,
what are you talking about?
Yeah, no big
deal. What are
you
talking about? So they called this a, quote, runtime fee. And it was based on each time a game was downloaded by an end user. So if you had a game on Game Pass and someone downloaded it, Unity wanted a cut of that. And if you had a free-to-play game that was free to download, Unity was taking a fucking cut of that.
They need some money from that.
Dude, and so
if I buy a game on Game Pass, download it on my Xbox, get a new Xbox, download it on that Xbox, I have Game Pass for PC, same account, just download it onto my
Unity
PC.
Gets
and the other
$30 for that.
Every time. Just every time. They want it every time.
So the indies immediately, indie studios, other studios freak out. Just immediately freak out. Some of them are releasing their first ever and only to date press release, basically saying fuck Unity. In some cases, literally saying fuck Unity.
Yeah, there was one guy who came out. He was just like, oh, didn't someone offer like a fund for small companies to use to
and then the other
platform?
The sharks started swimming immediately. All these other game platform or the engine developers are like, oh yeah, come use ours. It's like, oh, we don't do runtime fees, we don't do any of that shit. So I mean, one studio that came out said they did the math on it, and Unity would be owed 109% of their company's revenue this next upcoming year. Unity just gets all of your money, and then some. You owe them money.
You have to sell some of your stock to give us some little extra.
You got to go get a loan to pay Unity off
immediately. Like the blowback, he tries to roll this back and be like, "This was a mistake."
Doesn't matter.
Didn't matter.
Didn't matter. The damage
CEO
had been done.
Had a good idea. He
so good.
Spit it out there.
We had to fire 1,000 people first to make room for his good idea.
They just drops that deuce, and then surprise, it stinks, and then they try to roll it back. But yeah, JD said that deuce is dropped.
But after all of this, you guys, after all of this shit, John Riccitiello goes back to playing the hits. And in December, at the beginning of this month, he announced 265 more layoffs and called it a company reset.
Dude, he's out of buzzwords now.
Dude,
or just doing a reorganization or
three rounds of layoffs in 2023, and in the middle of it, the without a doubt biggest fuck up in the entire company's history. Dude, and John Riccitiello, of all people, still has a motherfucking job.
Why is he there?
Of the fucking company, sitting there right at the top of the table, at the head of the table, as a shining beacon of an example to everybody in corporate America that CEOs are fucking useless morons that are overpaid, and you can't fire them no matter how shitty they are.
Like, yeah, this guy definitely should be fired. Like, I'm really hopeful that January, like one of our top stories, is that John Riccitiello has been replaced, because come on, he just led their worst year ever, and in the middle of that made the worst decision they've ever made. Like, get out.
As a consequence, almost 300 people had to lose their job because of this one fuck up, who's probably being paid the equivalent of like half of those people's salaries.
Oh, so much money. Like, he does not care. The only thing he's worried about is that he might lose his job and like have to go somewhere else.
So yeah, Unity really put in a strong case. This is an all-timer for me in terms of a studio doing just shitting their pants
unnecessarily. Like, a lot of it is unnecessary. Unity,
nothing good.
Yeah, it's not like Unity. We're like, Unity's putting out garbage. Like, it's Unity.
Crazy. This next one, did Aaron send in a clip?
There's an audio clip for Aaron gives us a nomination.
Thank you, Aaron.
Hey gamers, it's Aaron. I want to nominate a company for the worst game studio of the year, which is Fantastic. They're responsible for the day before, the worst game in history, the company that screwed a lot of people out of money, and they definitely deserve one of the worst Game Studios of the Year award. See,
this is a shoo-in. These guys are a shoo-in. They tried real hard and honestly make a strong case. Unity made a strong case. These guys make a strong case because look, Fantastic. I mean, we've talked about this multiple times, and honestly, I wish the story would just keep going, but they don't exist anymore. They released this super hyped up game the day before. Game comes out, it's garbage.
#1 wish listed game on Steam, not just super
for this
hype.
year.
Number one wish listed
for
game.
like 9 months. It came out in like October or November or something like that. And they released the game. It's terrible. Everyone buys it because they wish listed it.
It's not the game at all that they said it would be. It's beyond terrible. It's just like not at all what it was supposed to be.
Yeah, none of it landed. So then, of course, terrible reviews. They get review bombed. They shut down the studio. Tried to open up secretly a new studio. That didn't work. So they just decided not to go with that. The whole time they're tweeting about this whole fiasco, this whole mess, not taking any of the blame for it. If you read through the tweets, they're not like, man, sorry, we really messed up. No, they took the money and ran. Now Steam has just started just issuing just like blanket
auto refunds.
Yeah, like just forget it. Like this is unprecedented. This doesn't happen.
For me, my biggest takeaway from F-Fantastic and the whole fiasco with the day before is that I think this is where we can say in the year 2023, indies finally made it, because we have an indie studio nominated for worst studio. I don't know if that's ever happened before, dude.
That's true. That I didn't think about that. That is,
they really can do anything now. They're up on the Blursties.
They're just as bad as the rest of them now. This is great.
You guys, you welcome to the industry, boys. Welcome, indies.
You finally made it.
You finally made it up to the Blursty board. Our last one here goes back to a stalwart, just like a permanent addition that has been sitting on the worst studio.
This is going to be their last nomination too.
Yeah, this is probably it. This will probably be it. But this is Blizzard. Blizzard just had a dude up there with Unity. If they were like having a fight, like an anime style fight, it would have been pretty even till the end, where Unity just like completely just blows it out.
Unity, like Blizzard thought they had it. Unity then comes back and they're like, this is not my final form.
and then they have a huge layoff and it's like glowing yellow and you're like, oh fuck.
Like, how we don't have time to respond to this.
Yeah, exactly. I just went through and highlighted a number of stories that we reported on. I'll go starting at the beginning. Blizzard's latest tactic to sell Overwatch 2 battle passes is just to shamelessly trick people into buying it.
Yeah.
Hilarious. Blizzard has a crisis map of games that can't ship because so many of their developers have quit.
Oof.
Blizzard wants to replace game designers with AI. If you remember that, where they were empowering. Yep. Blizzard is charging $15 for their first Overwatch 2 PvE mission, which is supposed to be free.
Which was supposed to be part of it to begin with.
And remember, on top of all of this, the Overwatch 2 release on Steam was, they said review bombed, which I don't think is accurate when people are just giving their honest reviews and critiques. But the Overwatch 2 director Aaron Keller responded, quote, although being reviewed bomb isn't a fun experience, it's great to see a lot of new players jump into Overwatch 2 for the first time.
Don't try to hype it up.
Blizzard's kind of just like it's like the Larry Bird of Blursties. Just like consistent, reliable
all the time.
It's always be there. Probably
you forgot to mention the worst BlizzCon yet. Trent spent 30 minutes in an episode just talking about how horrible it was,
and he's been like a dozen.
We made a song about it.
Mm-hmm.
It was terrible. Nowhere to sit. Nothing to do. Nothing to see.
No demos to play.
Yeah.
And the opening ceremonies was crammed into the StarCraft 2 arena. Dude, I forgot about BlizzCon. So yeah, Blizzard actually did have but that's what I'm talking about. Like, the anime fight seems fair, but the worst BlizzCon ever versus what Unity polled around the same time, it wasn't the same. Big fight.
And I think it was. I think why Unity is coming out screaming is because they were an unexpected challenger in this anime fight. Like, Blizzard's been there the whole time. They're just like, just big monster. You're like, here we go, and then all of a sudden they just come screaming in like a Gundam, big robot, Gundam robot, and just like a kick to the head of Blizzard, and they like whip out some laser sword and they're like whip it right across them.
And it says John Riccatello on the blade of the laser sword, and it's like, you forgot my biggest weapon, a fucking brain dead CEO. Watch this. and then he just stabs himself. The Gundam just stabs himself in the fucking heart. It's like, see, Unity is the dumbest.
I'm so strong. Only I can defeat myself.
Only I can kill me. Next week.
Oh my gosh.
Worst launch.
All right. Our first nomination for worst launch comes to us from the other side of the world, Agrilord. Let's hear it.
Chetta.
Kia ora 3A Gamer Show, Agrilord here, with a nomination for the worst launch of 2023. My nomination this year is for Cities Skyline 2. Now, alarm bells went off for me when they released a joint statement from the publisher and the developer 2 weeks before launch saying that it's going to suck. It's not going to be up to scratch, and they released the specs, which were impressive. You had to have a hell of a machine to run this thing, basically. And even if you did have the requirements that they were suggesting, you still had to go and fiddle with your settings just to make sure your machine didn't run at 99% capacity the whole time. So another example of something releasing way too early, having the opportunity to delay, but the dollars talk and something had to get out there. So that's my nomination for 2023's Blursties. Happy Blursties.
Thank you, Agrilord.
First
I
off,
love that idea
I
that
just
they
love-
immediately are like, oh, sorry, it's going to suck.
A joint statement. They both know.
Oh, this is going to be bad.
Again,
this
this is
going to be bad.
okay. Usually it's because the publisher is pushing the developer. This is a unique case where they both know it's bad and they're like, what can we do? We got to release it anyways. Who's pulling the strings at this point? I thought
they're on a tandem bike and the brakes are out. So they're like, watch out, hey, there's no brakes.
They're like, dude, I thought you were in charge of the brakes. And like, I thought, wait, no, you were in charge of the brakes. Turns out there's brakes all along.
The guy in the back has got his feet up on the handlebars. Like, what are you talking about?
The publisher is like, oh, I can't put a stop to this. And you're like, you absolutely can. That is a big part of your job.
This is a pretty steep slope. I
what
don't know,
can I
man.
do? Got to release it. Dude,
Skyline
okay,
too.
when I was looking into this, because this was completely, I'm glad he submitted this one because this was off my radar completely.
Yeah.
City Skylines 2, the reviews though, oh, so good. Apparently, this game could not run at 60 frames per second. The biggest complaint is that it was just lag. It was just not optimized at all. And they came out and said, they knew it was bad, but they also came out and said, guys, this is a city builder game. You don't need it to be more than 30 frames per second. That's what they said. And you're like, what?
You're playing it wrong.
Dude,
they said you're playing it wrong.
People were getting nauseated when they would try to move it around because it was so skippy. Like, this is like a basic game. This is not like you're not playing freaking Avatar.
It's a cities game. It should run at 60 frames easier.
Yeah,
if it's something else like a shooter.
This is crazy, dude. What a great nomination. Great accent.
Dude, the best part, any launch that it's already going poorly before the launch. That's a great nomination right there.
And just launch anyway.
You got some NASA engineer sitting there grumbling. He's like, it's gonna blow up on the pad. It's not gonna work. It's not gonna work. That already is a great launch before it's happened.
He's got his arms folded and he's like, yeah, I already told him. I already told him.
Will be way too brittle. But
President comes out and he's like, "Hey, this next launch, we've got full crew on it, great crew. We do not expect it to go well, but we're gonna do it anyway. So see what happens."
The crew member leans forward and taps him like, "Wait, what?"
He's like,
"Was that?"
It's like, no, you're fine.
Get on the. We have to launch right now anyway. So get on the fucking ship.
He's already on the ship as the announcement comes out.
What? Hey, what?
He's trying to take seatbelt off. Hey, my seatbelt won't work.
Yep. Hey, Houston, I just wanted to check. I know the countdown's going right now, but did someone just say we're not going to have a good launch?
No. Doors are locked. Just sit back and relax.
That was just for the shareholders. Next up, Rise of Kong. We already kind of touched on this. Published by
have
Game Mill Entertainment, developed by Iguana Bee in Argentina. I just want to read two of the quotes that came from the developer in the aftermath of this game's release. First up, quote, "The development process of this game was started in June of last year and it was aimed to end on June 2nd of this year." So 1 year development process.
Dude, for
It's
a
like
King
any
Kong
good
game,
game.
you can do that.
Destined for a good launch.
It doesn't even look like a King Kong game either. Like everything is to scale to King Kong. He doesn't look big. He just looks like a gorilla.
Peterson, but be fair, does it look like a King Kong game that was developed in 12 months? Because I would say yes. Yes, it does.
By a student team. This looks like a student project. 6 students.
This is what the students said, quote, "We did what we could and we had a great time developing it. Proud of our monkey."
Okay, but like, okay, for real, I'm gonna be real with you, JD. Low key, I do like the Game Mill because they're so funny for me. This is like, yes, they're pumping out garbage, which is great for our
show. We love
show.
the Asylum, dude. This is our beat.
Should we start a streaming account where we only exclusively stream Game Mill games?
No, what we should do is go meta with this because this is clearly some sort of money-making tactic.
I don't know how, but yeah,
we got to do this with podcasting. So we like start a podcast called like the Joe Brogan Experience, and then we just do a ripoff of every episode, like kind of a similar title, and then we just kind of like rip off popular podcasts and see if we can trick people into downloading ours.
That's actually not a bad idea.
I think it's big. We'd have to come up with a name like Game Mill or the Asylum. We'll doodle that one. I can't think of something similar. Next up, we've got Payday 3. Payday 3 was a sequel to the last Payday. Payday 2 came out in 2013.
Like this game, people were stoked for Payday 3.
Yeah, but also people weren't really demanding it.
Nope. This wasn't
this is a game I played back in the day on like my Xbox 360, so maybe it could be cool. It's a multiplayer co-op heist game, and it didn't have working servers on launch. And just like City Skyline 2, my favorite thing, the CEO comes right out and is like, "Our bad, fuck." Right after launch, the CEO tweets, "We are so sorry that the infrastructure didn't hold up as expected, and although it's impossible to prepare for every scenario, we should be able to do better." Dude, the game it's a multiplayer co-op game and the servers didn't work on launch. Like that's the only thing that needs to work. That's like the guns can just not work as long as you can get into a party with your friends and run around. Otherwise, you're just sitting in the lobby getting mad.
That's what this game is. This game is multiplayer with friends.
It's the one thing that's got to go right.
And so yeah,
it's dead. It's dead. It's DOA when you do that with the game like this. No one's gonna be like, "Oh well, I heard Payday 3 was kind of shitty, so I'll pick it up in a couple months." No, because you have to convince another person to do that with you.
They came out a little bit later and said, "You know what? It's so bad. We're looking at offline modes for Payday 3, which is a co-op heist game. This is not an offline game, but they're like, we're gonna try offline modes." And anyway, so it's crazy. So yeah,
this is like you get people on the rocket and it launches, and like 4 of the boosters don't work, and they're like, call the guy on the rocket. They're like, "Hey, so your boosters aren't working. So sorry, but we're gonna try something else."
All the boosters.
It feels like we're falling, so I don't know if anything else is going to help at this point. You kind of need the boosters, right?
The boosters aren't working. Just turn them off. Let's see if we can do something else.
Next up, again, another one we've already discussed a little bit. The Day Before. This is the game brought to us by Fantastic. It was a vaporware game, hyped to the moon. Everyone on Steam had convinced themselves it was going to be like The Division, but good. Or DayZ, but good. It wasn't like anything at all,
and not good.
It was just empty. Like some people's experiences, they'd open the game when they'd start it for the first moment when they'd take control of their character after the intro, just fall through the floor, just floating in the skybox. And that was like it. There's like nothing. It was supposed to be a zombie game. It's like hard to describe. how
like people said it was just like empty, and
it was like a framework for a game.
The only game mode was the extraction mode, and they said there was like it was not hard, it wasn't competitive, there was just nothing. You just like go grab stuff and drop it, put it on a helicopter, and then let it go, and you're like, all right.
Yeah, and this got found out immediately. This had reached 400,000 concurrent viewers on Twitch. It was the #1 streamed game on Twitch when it came out because its launch was so fucking bad. And like Peterson mentioned, that caused their studio to change their name from F-Fantastic to 8 Points in some weird, desperate play to get away from the bad press, which was instantaneous the second they launched this fucking title.
Like, I would argue that these guys never even got out of the launch phase. Like, it was done before they even got out of that phase. It launched and then shut down.
It was just an empty shell of a rocket. And they went through all the fanfare of launching. They got everyone over to Cape Canaveral. Everyone was crowded around, and they did everything, including pressing doing the timer and pressing the button. And then nothing happened. They looked around like, oh,
it just went like,
we didn't put
like that. And then the astronauts come walking out. They're like, hey, what are we doing? They're not even in it. They just came walking to the tarmac. And then the guy's like, wait, aren't you? Who's in there? And then the thing falls apart and there's nothing in it.
It's empty. It's just cardboard. Like, that's the day before. Cardboard.
And then you turn and go look at the NASA guy, the head of the project. He's gone. He is. You turn like, hey, what? Wait,
he's wearing a sticker over his NASA shirt that says BASA, and he's like, what? Yeah, we're all looking for this guy. I don't know.
Where'd he go? And then you turn the other way, and everyone's gone. Everything's gone. You're like, oh, is this a weird fever dream? Like, what's happening?
Yep. Weird fever dream. The day before. Our final nomination for worst launch. This one is with a little bit of sadness because I think it'll be the last time we ever see this on the Blursties, is the post-pandemic attempt to relaunch E3. Just, guys, this was really bad.
They kept trying a relaunch.
They didn't like, even try that hard. They just kept saying they were going to try.
That's
true. Last E3 was a digital E3 in 2021, so they canceled in 2020. Which honestly may have been like a blessing in disguise because they were gearing to make it a quote influencer show. They're like, oh, it's all going to be YouTubers and influencers and Instagram and all this stuff.
Streamers.
And then the pandemic came along and saved their bacon from having to do that.
From that mistake.
In 2021, they do a digital show. 2021, the ultimate year of sadness for everyone. And then and it doesn't go well. By the way, digital E3 in 2021 was a mess. Like, most developers didn't bother showing up, and the few that did, it was just like watching a trailer on your computer. Like, why do I need to do this at E3? 2022, the next year, was canceled because of COVID. They dragged that out till May. They didn't like finalize that till May of 2022. But they said, hey, we're canceled this year.
We're going to be back.
We'll be back in 2023. We're going to be the second week of June. And then over the next couple of weeks, Microsoft, Nintendo, Ubisoft, Sega, Tencent, and Sony are all like, no, we're not going to.
We don't want to do that.
So they canceled this year. They canceled 2023, but they said, whoa, we'll be back next year. We'll be back in 2024.
We're just buttoning up a few things. We'll be back 2024. It's going to be amazing. Just wait for it.
And September of this year, they come out and they're like, okay, so next year's not going to happen. 2024 is not going to happen, but we are working on a complete reinvention for 2025. They canceled 2024 like 10 months before 2024. And then they're like, no, but 24 months later, we got this. We're going to have a complete reinvention. And then 2 months later, they're like, no, just kidding. We were just, lying.
We're just done. We're done.
This is like, and Peterson, you have kids, so this is probably a little bit closer to home for you. But when you ask a kid to do something and they're like, yeah, I'll do it. And it just becomes so ridiculous after like 2 or 3 weeks or months after asking that kid. And I was that kid, by the way, that was like, yeah, I'll do it. I'll feed my turtle. And then it dies. You're like, I'll do it. I'm going to feed him. I'm going to get a bunch of lettuce and some grapes. I'm going to do it all up like next week.
Mom, can we get a new turtle though? Because I'll feed it this time. Like, no, can we get a new one though? That one was stupid anyway.
I can't believe it, dude. I can't believe it.
What do you want for your birthday this year, JD? A turtle? Like, dude, you killed 2 turtles in the last 2 years.
Yeah, but I'm gonna feed that turtle so much a week or 2 after I
just wait. This turtle's gonna be so great. This turtle's gonna be so great. I'm gonna take it on walks.
I have a specific shovel for burying turtles in my yard.
Dude, we have a turtle cemetery back there. I can't get you another one.
Fucking haunted as hell.
But guess what? Those ghosts are so slow. Like it doesn't.
I'll take care of the haunted cemetery next month. I promise. I got such a good plan for it.
Oh
I'm gonna do a seance. Do you think we have a clip for this?
Yes.
Intermission kudos. Gotta have something we put together last year.
Hold on. Come on, where is it? Oh, yeah, I didn't save it. I do have intermission music.
Okay.
I just used the Monty Python one.
Yeah.
And then we'll do kudos. I'll just play the regular music.
Kudos.
Welcome to intermission. Give you a little break from the negativity with a whole bunch more negativity because we're in the Blursties, right in the middle of it.
This is the fun negativity.
We're not doing kudos. Things aren't really great right now. We're going over the worst part of the last year. So we're doing pudos. Intermission pudos. Peterson, you want to go first?
Yeah.
Go first?
Mine's a surprising one. And it's mostly just a disappointment. So,
my God, is this real?
Brandon Sanderson came out at the end of this year. We had a great year. We had a great Sanderson year. Just so much Sanderson. So much Cosmere. If you don't know, that's his like universe spanning
MCU.
It's his MCU. A lot of his books and series are like in the same universe, right? They haven't been intermingling until the last few books. So great Cosmere year, great Sanderson year, so much content, so many books. Well, I mean, obviously that has to slow down at some point. The good news is his next Stormlight archive book 5.
5. Okay.
He's done writing it. And now they're just doing drafts and stuff like that. So you're like, great, he's 100% on it. That book's coming out in December of 2024. And that's the next Cosmere book to come out. So we have to wait a year, which again, you're like, oh, Peterson, that's not bad for an author release schedule. Well, it is for Sanderson because we got spoiled in the last few years. Okay. So not only that, he's like, and then once that comes out, I'm going to start Mistborn Era 3 in January of 2025. So he's going to start it. And that's it. That's it. We don't have a lot of other stuff in work from Brandon Sanderson. He's got a lot going on. He's doing other stuff. The Mistborn movie apparently has been in works, but
is it live action? Because
it got put on hold. He didn't say. He does not say.
Fuck! If that's live action, I don't even want to see it, dude. I'm being honest. He could be in the director's chair and I wouldn't want to see it.
It's dangerous. Honestly, that's scary. It's scary.
You need a $500 million CG budget to do that well, and it would not look that great.
Yeah, like it would have to be done anyway. So this is why I'm a little depressed about it. I'm not upset at Sanderson. I could never be upset at Sanderson. At least not. I don't want to say that. I'm not upset, but I am sad and depressed that this Cosmere stream is slowing so down that I have to wait a full year for the next book, and then he will start the next books.
What are the odds that he's bullshitting again this year and he's got 5 secret books that'll come out though?
I want that to be the case, but knowing how busy his year was this year, I don't think that's the case. I think he had a lot on his plate this year with all his book releases, with all of his Kickstarter stuff that I think he's writing through it all, but I don't think he's even close. So yeah, I think it's going to slow down significantly and it makes me real sad.
It's less of a poodles and more of just a sad nose.
It's a poodles, JD. Because if he came out and said, it's crazy. You have no idea. 2024 is going to be gangbusters. I've got this book coming out. I've got a couple other things that I'm working. We're at 75%. I would be giving him kudos right now, but I'm not.
Seen Misery? Maybe it's time for a rewatch. Check yourself a bit.
How dare you? I would be happy to be kidnapped by Brandon Sanderson.
Oh, yeah, you definitely need to rewatch it.
He can break my knees. I don't care. Do I get to do that? Okay, this is a true story. Just like 2 nights ago, I had a dream that I was in Brandon Sanderson's house. And I was super stoked to be there.
Yeah, let's see if Misery's streaming anywhere.
I'm not watching it.
You might want to watch it. It's on HBO and Paramount Plus.
I have Paramount.
Might be worth a look. I have a Pudos for streaming services. It's a 2023.
This is a full year Pudos.
Full year general Pudos. This was the year, you remember, Netflix said, no sharing, fuck off. Yeah. At the same time, HBO and Discovery did their weird combo, which led to HBO like dropping a lot of their original content. Things like Westworld. Are you kidding me? And what was the other one? Raised by Wolves. Like HBO originals removed from HBO. Very strange. And prices went up. Everyone jacked their prices up. Netflix, along with kicking people off, jacked prices up. Netflix also doing ads now, if I'm not mistaken. Amazon Prime just sent me an email. They're doing ads now. It's the worst year for stream. And they're not, in my opinion, providing anything really great or new. The only one that is Apple. And they increased theirs. And I was like, yeah, they're making some fucking expensive shit. And it's all really good. No one else is doing anything that impresses me. Netflix is like, hey, we need an extra $2 a month so we can forward that all to Adam Sandler. So he can make another 8 movies for us. And I'm like, those are okay, but I don't think I want to pay $2 or $3 extra a month for an Adam Sandler film every year.
I would say Prime is doing some pretty good stuff. Like they've got Reacher, they've got
they're trying.
They've got some Invincible, like they've got good things on there. They've got The Boys. Right? So they're doing some good stuff. But yeah, Netflix, they struggle. I mean, here's what Netflix released. They released solid B minuses.
Yeah.
Right?
Dude, I think it's crazy. When I used to have Netflix and I saw the little N on the thing, I would skip past those automatically. That was that was a red flag for me. And it wasn't like I was an embittered, I was paying for the fucking service. It was just an experiential thing. Like anytime it has an N on it, it's 50-50 is generous. Because most of it is just hot garbage. They just threw, because they just wanted to desperately build a catalog.
Yeah,
it's not a good library though.
No, and that's the thing. Netflix is good for going back into every 4 months and being like, oh, what's in the top 10? I haven't even heard of any of this or watched any of it. And if you watch some of it, you will be mildly entertained by half of it. I'm saying like solid B minus types of stuff. Even their hottest things are like,
Netflix content is just like stuff you'd be better off doing anything else other than watching. It's like something to have in the background while you're looking at your phone. But it's everything on Netflix is like that. And they want more money, and I think that's crazy. So streaming services just across the board, except for, of course, PBS.
Well, Apple TV is, I don't know if you know this about them. They're pretty similar, though. They're like, you get like 4 licenses total. Like you can't download it.
I assume that.
You can't download it anywhere. So like my brother-in-law was like, oh, I want you to watch this show. And he tried to download it. And it was like, you only have 1 license left. And he's like, what? No, I can't. What if I get a new TV? Like that's how it is. Like downloaded 3 TVs in your house. You're using 3 of them type of thing. So
that's crazy. Yeah. No, that doesn't surprise me in the slightest. So yeah, everyone gets my kudos. You all suck except for PBS.
PBS.
Worst bug.
This first one, Peterson, you got to take. This one is, I think, your favorite, Blursty.
I love it so much. Okay, so FIFA, the FIFA 23, finally, after years of requesting, they finally added female soccer players. Women's
This is like
soccer
suffrage
team.
for video games, basically.
They added the women's soccer teams into their game, and if you remember us
Finally
talking
made
about
it, ladies.
this, or at least they made it, and they even went in and did body scans and stuff like that.
Yeah, the whole thing.
And then there's just a tweet storm from ladies tweeting pictures of their avatar, their character in the game, of themselves, and they look horrible. Number one favorite, I don't have the story up, but it's that there's this Asian soccer player lady. I think she's an American player. Her character looks like a white lady with dirty blonde hair.
Yeah.
Like, she does not look Asian at
like maybe
all.
one of the orcs from Lord of the Rings Gollum, but her hair is very far from jet black.
Which is like standard. This is like
that's pretty
standard
easy.
feature. Yeah, like easy to do that one.
And it was like ruffled. Like, it wasn't like straight black hair that you would.
No,
it's just like a ruffled, like.
Honestly, it's like close to JD's hair right now. Put JD's hair in a ponytail, and that's what her hair looks like.
I look exactly like an Asian woman. Look at this, dude. I'm ready to play some soccer.
But that wasn't the only one. They're all tweeting their pictures.
I like the girl that they get bigger tits to.
Yeah, they made her boobs bigger. She was like, what?
They were probably like, dude, why are you complaining? Come on. Look what we did.
Look, we even added a little bit of boob physics so they bounce a little more. Like, it's going to be great. People are going to play you.
Yeah, you put me in a soccer game and I just have a dumpster butt. I ain't complaining. Look at that thing. Look at that thing run.
He's not very fast.
Like, I got 2 elephant legs strapped on my waist, and I'm just fucking stomping down the field. Give me that, JD.
This whole story's great. We went through again last night, and we're looking at it, and the pictures are hilarious. Yeah, so they just look bad. So finally, women made it into a FIFA game, and it was done terribly. They just did these ladies dirty. And honestly, the ladies had a great attitude about it because the tweets are hilarious.
Yeah, and meanwhile, there's like hundreds of the male players, and they're like, wait, we can complain because this is what my avatar looks like. Are you fucking serious? I'm pretty sure no one's avatar looks that really that great in a game that they don't even update year to year. So it's just like, welcome to the show, or first time. The next worst bug we had here was Starfield's infinite items glitch.
Oh, this one was so good.
A super funny bug that people discovered pretty early on in Starfield, where if you went outside of a certain building, I think it was like a merchant stand or something, and you looked into a puddle, for some reason that puddle gave you access to all of the items in the store for free.
It gave you it had like the reflection. You were clicking on the reflection of a store.
Yeah.
And it was like it was like the upside down version of the store. Like, everything.
You go to the upside down and everything's free.
And people were just like, I have 20,000 whatever. I haven't played Starfield. I don't know what they collect, but I've got all of it. And then they're just selling it. So not only infinite items, but then infinite money. Like, this is so stupid that they would put the reflection, the image reflection, a clickable store. So fantastic. Well done.
Another one that I love bug-wise was Baldur's Gate 3's setting. The horny setting was turned up to 11, apparently. And it was confirmed. This is a quote from the game director, Sven Vinke. So it was a bug. The approval thresholds were too low when we shipped. That's why they were so horny in the beginning. It wasn't supposed to be that way. We've fixed it at least. We fixed it since, at least for some of them. We're still fixing a few of them. I
have a few characters I don't think they fixed it for. There's a couple.
I know,
guy
the horniest
who are
defenders
trying to bang me nonstop.
Well, they were able to turn down the horny on most people, but there were some that, like, a guy's just like, he's out there on the loose. It's too late. He's broken through from horny containment. He's running around with a super hard raging mega boner, and they got to like tackle him and like hit it with cold spoons. So those ones, it's going to take them a minute to turn down the setting for.
Dude, I think it's the vampire character, and he is trying to have sex with me nonstop from the get-go. He's like, oh, hey, yeah, okay, well, our goals align. Here's my backstory anyway. Let's do it. And
here's my backside now.
What? I am, geez, we don't know anything about each other. And he's like, doesn't matter. I'm a vampire. Like, I'll have sex with you if you want.
I'll fuck anything.
And you turn him down, and he's like, you sure? And then he's still. So I turn him down.
The bedpost anyway.
I turn him down.
He's like, I'm here when you change your mind.
He's still trying. He's still trying. Some of the other characters are like, oh, cool. No, I got it. Back off. Okay, that's not. He is not. He's like ready to go all the time.
Dude, you can't expect a vampire to respect bodily autonomy or body consent. I mean, he steals your blood.
That
with
is
his mouth on your neck. Come on.
That is one of the very first things he does is drink your blood. So I don't know. Yeah.
He thinks that he's like, why are you being so brutish? Bitch, I've tasted your blood.
Dude, you are inside of me already. Let's just
the Mario movie
trend.
was posted in its entirety on Twitter. This is our next nomination.
Right away. This was like week 1.
Yeah. This is I guess you could call it a bug when Elon Musk, the new owner of Twitter, fires the entire trust and safety team at the very same time that he drastically increases the length of videos allowed on the platform to 60 minutes. So everyone's like, oh, well, I'll just post the whole Mario movie and who's going to stop me? No one. Just watch it on Twitter.
They all got fired. They're gone. You want to watch Mario? Here. Dude, I'm going to get so many clicks on my Twitter account.
So amazing. And our last mod, this is kind of a theme, I guess. The Witcher 3 got hyper-realistic vagina fan mods added to the base game.
So what they were doing was taking like the super popular mods that were like improvements to the game, which I think is a good thing, and adding them to their game. Well, I think they were
sight unseen.
I think they were just like, yeah, this one's real popular. It's really good. So they really, they added it, and it is hyper realistic vaginas. I'm talking like labia folds situation.
Not as good as Baldur's Gate vaginas, though, I will say.
No.
Although I did see some of these that were modeled. The inside of the vagina was modeled as well, and I was like,
why?
What are you guys doing? What are these modders doing? What are you
Sometimes they get real horny for the characters in the game. The funny thing too is there's not a penis in Witcher 3, but now we've got hyper realistic vaginas now.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I wish they'd just given everyone a vagina. If they can't put the dicks in, at least give everyone a hyper realistic vagina.
You're riding Roach around and he's got just like a super realistic vagina.
You're like trying to clip through the like tub or something to see Geralt's dong, and instead of seeing the Ken doll that you might be like, oh, that's lame, they didn't put it in, all of a sudden it's just like a super sweet pussy with a landing strip, and Geralt's just sitting there. He's like, what'd you expect?
What'd you expect? Look at this. Now that you've seen it though, do you want in? The water's warm. You're like, all right.
I wish that had been the fucking change. Everything gets a vagina. The little bunnies that you like hunt for food, they're just hopping around.
All the monsters. You're like, gosh, I can't. It's so hard to fight with this boner.
The monsters that have like 8 legs, 4 vaginas.
So
That's
many.
How it is.
Super realistic, by the way. They're all like super.
Let's do our sister category next.
Worst feature.
All right, worst feature. This is things that were built into a game intentionally, not being taken advantage of. This is something they meant to do.
This one's mine. I get the first one.
Take
it. So as a joke, me and a couple of my buddies, one night we were bored and we were like, dude, let's play just some random games. So one of them found this game called Cenozoic Era, where it's an open world where you play as an animal, and it's a survival game, but you're an animal. And so we're like, sweet, let's be moose. So, because you can't start off being like a wolf. I think you have to unlock some of that stuff. Everyone wants to be a wolf. So we were moose. So we're running around as moose. One of us was male, one of us was female. and we're like, holy crap, there's a mating mechanic. Let's populate this region with moose babies. Let's see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
So you mate with the female one, and she gives birth to you. You are now the baby moose. Your adult male moose has gone. You have entered the female and come out
It's a baby.
as a fully formed baby. And I mean, it's like we were so baffled. This is the weirdest decision in a video game. First of all, there's no benefits of being a baby.
There's no net gain or increase of mooses.
There's no, and
same amount of
benefit.
mooses as before, but you're just a baby now.
There's no reason to be a baby in this game. You're just like, oh crap, I'm a baby. I'm trying not to die. And when you're, by the way, any animal baby in this game, you're so small. You're the size of a mouse. I'm not joking. You're a moose the size of a mouse just running around. Anything could kill you and eat you so easily. There's no benefit. So why did they build this into the game? I don't know. I can't figure it out, but it was incredible. It was maybe the funniest thing to happen to us in a month. So I guess thank you, Cenozoic Era, for your weird freaking feature that you put into this game.
I feel like they maybe had a plan to build it into something else, but then it just wasn't realized yet. And they're like, just leave it. We'll build something else later.
You want to mate? You're going to be a baby. Then you got consequences for your horniness.
So what's the other alternative is that the adult moose that you had previously occupied now becomes an NPC and you're the baby? What's the best case scenario for that feature?
Dude,
that seems like that's the
I
core
don't
feature.
know.
It's intentional.
You should not even include mating if that's what happens when you mate. Like
maybe they don't get it. Maybe their parents didn't explain it to them right.
Yeah, that's knowing this game and the people who play this game. I assume, maybe they just don't understand how sex works. Like, you go in and a baby comes out, right? So you must be in, I guess.
And then your dad abandons you forever. But you become your dad, so it's okay. Don't be mad. You abandon yourself. Next up, Resident Evil 4 added microtransactions after the release of the game to a DLC just casually.
After release, all the reviews are in.
Single player game.
Now we've got our microtransactions.
Sneak them in. And they're stupid, too. This is a DLC that they released for Resident Evil 4, which is like a 20-year-old game they remade. And this DLC lets you speed up weapon progression with exclusive upgrade tickets. They cost $3, or you can get multi-packs for $7 and $10. Imagine that, spending money on a microtransaction in a remake of a 20-year-old Resident Evil game. That's so crazy. So if you bought everything, you'd get 23 upgrade tickets and it would cost you $55. This is, mind you, this is a single player game. So all you're doing here is just advancing things quicker. So you're paying money to play the game less, basically. For me, that's the worst fucking feature of all time. That's crazy. And like Peterson pointed out, they snuck it in after.
Just drop it in there. No fanfare about it. Just drop it in.
Yep. Just to try to sneak into some whales. I hate that. This one is also very funny. This was a $2,000 game on Steam.
I don't even understand this.
It's about 2 hours long, and the first 8 minutes of it is a Star Wars-like scroll that is just a big, long rant about men's rights. What?
8 minutes. 8 minutes.
I don't
JD,
understand.
Could you talk right now about men's rights for 8 minutes?
You wouldn't want to hear it.
I know, like, I don't even know what I would say. Like, if I was like, okay, JD, you're going to pretend like you are an advocate for men's rights. You have 8 minutes. You got to fill. Go.
Okay.
Like, I don't even know what I'm saying.
If men remain masculine, women would not have to take the lead and be more masculine. They never have to stand up and do it for themselves. Nevertheless, the reason for this shift is not as one-dimensional as one would believe. One of the main causes of this modern disease is the fact that many plastic products release estrogen, and plastic is cheap for a multitude of business ventures. I can't even read this. Dude, imagine reading this shit. And you can't skip this. So if you're like a big fan of this here game, The Hidden and Unknown, you want to replay it, you have to watch this 8-minute Star Wars scroll
I
rant.
don't even understand, like why even release a game? Just put your rant out there on the internet and go away.
This is a visual novel. It's not even a game. It's a visual novel it's a non-interactive visual novel. So I don't even know if you're clicking through it or if you just sit there and watch a 2-hour game and it's cost you $2,000.
If I have an 8-minute cutscene at the beginning of my game, I'm pretty annoyed. If I have an 8-minute thing that I have to read, I am gonna fight somebody. I'm gonna break something and fight a person.
Yep.
Like, that is infuriating. That is enough to make you crazy. Dude, I hate this. Is the worst feature. This is a terrible feature.
This is a terrible, god-awful feature. Do you want to talk about this next one?
Okay. It's time.
Why is the Blursty so sexy this year?
Dude, so much. Dude, this was a horny year, I think. I don't know why, but I think it was a horny year.
We got our smut. It's just all about smut this year, you guys.
Yeah, this isn't us. This is just us finding it. The smut finds us.
That was the best part of the year, was the smut.
Taimanin RPG Ecstasies Gem Debt. So, if you remember us talking about this was just some stupid
gotcha game.
A gotcha game.
Gotcha RPG. I think it was on your phone, right?
I think it's on Steam.
The way Kotaku described it that I thought was so funny. Taimanin RPG Ecstasy is a turn-based gotcha RPG in which players unlock new warriors to fight demons and criminal syndicates in a horny sci-fi future.
That's absolutely correct. So you're and just like any gotcha game, like you're doing the thing, getting gems or whatever, and then you're using those to upgrade your character or whatever you're doing. Like buy new items, whatever, any sort of upgrades. That's how it is.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this game for months and months did not realize that they had coded into the game way too many gems. Like you were earning gems at a rate. It's like someone moved a decimal point is how it was coded. And so the gems were off, and then people were upgrading their stuff too fast. Well, when they realized that, instead of just fixing the problem and being like, crap, sorry, guys, like, I hope you enjoyed it while it lasted. No, that would be the normal thing to do.
Give it back.
They were like, you didn't earn this. This is not what we meant. You didn't earn it. That was not fair. And they essentially took it back, even though they had already been spent.
Mm-hmm.
So then people log into the game, they wake up, log into their gotcha game, and look, and they're like 1 million gems in debt, which would take them like 9 months of like grinding to even get to a point where they can start getting gems again.
Yeah.
So this has got to be one of the worst features in a horrible, horrible game. Just the programmers coming in and being like, oops, we made a mistake. Now you're all going to pay for it.
Give us those Jism gems back. Those are ours.
Jism gems. Like what does it benefit them? I don't understand. Anyway.
And
so
the idea that a developer at any point was like, okay, so this will roll them back into the negative. So someone will log on and see they have negative currency. And anybody, anywhere in that whole game studio was like, yeah, that's what we want. Is crazy to me. How anyone could view that as anything but super hyper discouraging. If you log into your bank account and it's in the negatives, you freak out. It's the end of the world. You log into this stupid porn game you probably spent already too much money on, and they're like, you owe us money. You're like, cool. What a great excuse to fucking delete it. Like,
I'm just not going to play anymore.
Nobody. And even if you get that back, you get them from like 1,000 to like, you don't see any of that money. I just don't know what they're fucking,
I don't know either. That's the thing. Like, are they purposefully trying to kill their game? Is this a scam? Like, what is happening? If they did this in World of Warcraft, if they did this in one of the best games, if this was one of the best games ever made, and they did this, it would still kill their game.
Yep.
Like, this is nonsense.
No, the gotcha games, they're resilient. Our last one here goes to Overwatch 2's free currency confusion debacle. This was something where they introduced a new currency They already have like 4 gold coins, white legacy credits. There's just like all this shit that they've added. And the problem is that the symbols all look very similar, but they're close enough that like you could get them confused, but different enough that if there was a lawsuit, they could argue that, oh, well, that clearly that's not a legacy credit, it's a gold coin. So you buy the battle pass and it gives you credits to buy something, and they're not. You can't buy. You have to buy something else. And they're like, whoa, that was that's not what we meant. And I think they since updated it. But yeah, this is just like in the world of user experience, they call it dark patterns, where you're deliberately building software UI in a way that's designed to trick people into doing what you want them to do. Not to get them to click on a button that, buy now, but you're tricking them by putting a invisible buy now button next to cancel. That type of shit. That's what they did here.
If you move your mouse over to cancel and the buy now moves
to buy. Yeah,
it's just like moving
just
around.
Follows your mouse around. That's this type of shit that they were up to at Blizzard, and it's just so fucking scummy.
The other piece was the battle pass for Blizzard. Like, they're bad at currency now.
Mm-hmm.
They used to be okay with it. Now they're terrible. The battle pass did not give you enough currency because you get like free currency from battle passes.
Yeah.
Didn't give you enough currency to do anything with it. It was useless.
Mm-hmm.
I've been playing a new game called The Finals. If you get the battle pass, you get enough currency to buy the next battle pass plus something else. That's how Fortnite is. Well, this is a brand new game. That's how Fortnite is as well. Overwatch 2? No, you don't have enough currency to do anything. So it's useless. Yeah, they suck at currency.
And you have to play for like so many hours to get through the battle pass.
Yeah, you have to max out the battle pass.
You have to even get like not even your money's worth because it's so fucking expensive.
Yeah. So yeah, this is I think just Overwatch 2 currency in general is a terrible feature.
So that does it. That does it, you guys. We did everything. The whole thing.
This is just part 1. We will do a part 2. We will do the next 5 categories next week.
Peterson, why don't you spin up our outro music while I review our categories and nominations for part 1? So, in all Lord of the Rings and Gollum specifically, for disappointing got the Gollum song from The Two Towers. Here we go. Biggest disappointment: Lord of the Rings Gollum, Lord of the Rings Return to Moria, Starfield, Redfall, and Embracer Group. Worst studio: Embracer Group again, Game Mill, Unity, Effentastic, and Blizzard. Worst launch: Cities Skyline 2, Rise of Kong, Payday 3, The Day Before, and post-pandemic E3. Little pause for Peterson because he loves this lady's voice.
I hate the way she pronounces her words. This is a great Blursties song too because it's like a really depressing song.
Worst bug. FIFA 23's women's players, Starfield Infinite items glitch, Baldur's Gate 3's characters are set to too horny, Mario Brothers movie was posted in its entirety on Twitter, Witcher 3 got hyper-realistic vagina fan mods added to its re-release, and then finally, worst feature: Cenozoic era's mating to become a baby, Resident Evil 4's microtransactions, The Hidden and Unknown's 8-minute-long rant about men's rights, Timon and RPG Ecstasy's gem debt, and finally Overwatch 2's free currency trick. That's it, you guys. We'll have a vote coming up soon.
We'll post these. The vote. You will please go in and vote for them because you guys determine which ones win. We can't pick. You guys got to pick.
Yeah, so we'll keep an eye out for that. Also keep an eye out for part 2 of the Blursties, where we'll be going over worst name, gamer rage, most overrated, worst sequel, and worst decision. So, and we have a lot of really cool listener. And actually, if you're listening right now and you have a nomination for gamer rage or worst decision,
still got a couple openings. Yeah.
So reach out to Peterson. We might be able to get you on the sode. Big thanks to Jomero, Aaron, and Agrilord for calling in and leaving their voicemails. We love that. We loved you guys listening to our Blursties this year. It's our last episode of the year, so thanks for hanging out with us on like one of the worst years of our lives again.
Can't wait for next year to be even worse.
Just as bad. I'm JD logging off.
This is Peterson going AFK.
This song is good. This is a good choice. This is a good choice in Blursties.
Especially because it's about like I'm gonna end this.